The movie begins with a calm and methodical Robert McCall, as he reads a book as he rides the Turkish railway 400 miles from Istanbul. He goes to the bar cart of the train, and has a drink with his target, a Turkish man, who has kidnapped his daughter from her American mother just to spite his ex-wife, and hurt her. When the man becomes aware of McCall's mission, he orders his men to take care of him. McCall then surveys the room, sets his timer, and proceeds to punch, smash, stab, and neck snap all the goons. He then approaches the father, who has shit his pants by this point, and explains to him that there are two kinds of pain, a pain that hurts, and pain that alters. In Boston, Grace, the mother of the kidnapped child, goes to the office of her lawyer, where her daughter is waiting for her. She tearfully embraces her little girl. Meanwhile, McCall works as a Lyft driver, with his most frequent customer being an elderly man named Sam Rubenstein. Sam is in the middle of a case to try and locate his long-lost sister. McCall mostly interacts with some of his passengers while observing others, but one night, he is told to take home a young woman who has been drugged and possibly taken advantage of. McCall takes her to the hospital and returns to the apartment of the guys who assaulted her. After telling them to do the right thing, the leader of the thugs locks the door as McCall observes the room and sets his stopwatch. He attempts to hit McCall, but he uses the guy's card to cut him before breaking his and his buddy's bones one by one effortless. When he gets to the last guy, he tells him to call 911 and tell them what they did to the girl. McCall gets done with his intimidation and walks out menacingly. Later in Belgium, a man, Mr. Calbert, comes home to find his wife beaten and crying. Three men, Resnick, Ari, and Kovac, emerge and shoot the wife in the head. They then force Mr. Calbert to sit down, before Resnick forces a gun into his mouth and pulls the trigger. McCall goes to the bookstore to find a new book he ordered, and he sees that the clerk is Grace, and her daughter recognizes him, but Grace doesn't know McCall was her savior. When he gets home, he finds Susan Plummer already there, and they share a friendly dinner. Susan forgot that it was the day of McCall's late wife, Vivian's birthday, and she suggests that he get out there more. McCall finds that one of his neighbors, Fatima, had her garden vandalized, and the walls have been sprayed with graffiti. McCall starts to wipe it off, before he is met by Miles Whitaker, a young man who frequently interacts with McCall, and is an aspiring artist. Miles offers to help McCall take it down instead for a price. Susan later talks to a colleague, Dave York, as they investigate the murder of the Calberts. They fly out to Belgium to investigate the crime scene. Susan goes back to her hotel room where she is tailed by two thugs who attack her. They start yelling about money, but she puts up a good fight and holds them off before they corner her in the bedroom. McCall is watching Miles paint the wall when he gets a call from Susan's husband, Brian, to inform him that Susan has been murdered. McCall hurriedly flies out to Washington, D.C. for the funeral, and later starts to investigate Susan's death by reviewing camera footage from the hotel, as well as crime scene photos. Meanwhile, the thugs are in their apartment blasting music when they hear a phone ring, but it's not coming from either of their phones, so they end up finding another phone on the floor. When they answer it, their radio explodes, killing them both. Outside, Resnick and his goons observe the explosion, which they set off. McCall meets Dave, who was his partner and believed McCall to be dead. They have learned about the killing of the thugs, and McCall determines they were just loose ends that needed to be taken care of, and that Susan's death may have been connected to the Calbert murders. McCall later observes Miles going out with two neighborhood gangsters. He follows them to their apartment, knocks out their guards, and takes their guns. Miles is there because they were going to help him get revenge on the thugs who murdered his brother, but McCall bursts in the room and makes it clear that he has no business dealing with these guys. Miles follows McCall outside. He tells him how dangerous it is. He says he has been dealing with death all his life, and gives Miles the advice to reconsider his life choices. Some time later, McCall is driving a passenger who reveals he's going to the airport. He gets suspicious and intentionally takes the wrong route, and when he reveals this, the passenger tries to stab him. McCall drives around like crazy to knock the guy around as he manages to elbow him in the face repeatedly. The guy then tries to shoot McCall, but he hits the brakes and manages to disarm and shoot him 3 times in the face. He takes the assassin's phone and finds coded information on it before he burns his car and dumps the body. McCall takes the phone to Dave's house where he meets Dave's wife and 2 daughters. As they leave the room, McCall shows Dave the information on the phone and traces the source back to another phone, which happens to belong to Dave. He reveals that after he and the other men, who were all taught under McCall in the CIA, believed him to be dead. They got involved in some nasty business, and when Susan nearly found out, Dave killed her himself. Dave takes McCall outside to reunite with Resnick, Ari, and Kovac. After meeting them, he declares he is going to kill each and every one of them, and the only disappointment in it for him is that he only get to do it once. McCall then asks Dave's wife for a lift as she passes by, and vows to see Dave at work. McCall takes Brian away to a safe house until he sorts the situation out, fearing that Brian may be targeted as a loose end. Meanwhile, Miles is painting the walls at McCall's apartment. Dave and Kovac attempt to break into the apartment, just as Miles is on the phone with McCall. He orders Miles to go to a secret hiding spot behind his bookshelf, and he goes there, but starts to get claustrophobic. McCall calls Dave, just as he is about to find Miles, and tells him where he is going to divert their attention. As Miles thinks he is free to go, Dave kidnaps him at gunpoint. McCall heads to his old hometown, as it is being evacuated due to a hurricane. The four villains scour through the town to find McCall. Kovac goes into a shop where he thinks he spots McCall, only for McCall to shoot a harpoon through his head. Ari then goes after him, but McCall catches him first, then gets him, and slices him up like a fish. Resnick follows McCall through another shop, and he gets blown up by a grenade, causing his stomach to burst open. Dave is left at the top of a tower trying to snipe McCall. He manages to contact him, and tell him that Miles is stowed away in a trunk, and he will kill him if McCall doesn't surrender himself. He fires several warning shots, but once he gets to his last shot, McCall shoots the tire of the car that Miles is in, so that Dave can miss him. McCall then climbs to the top of the tower, and faces off against Dave. They both fight on even ground, and Dave manages to slice him. McCall gouges Dave's eye out, before grabbing his knife, and stabbing him in the abdomen, and then he slices Dave's neck from the back before throwing him off the tower. McCall goes to free Miles and sees that he got shot in his leg. He takes the boy to his old house, where he treats his wound, and stops the bleeding. We then see pictures of McCall when he was a soldier and photographs of his wife, Vivian. Back home, Fatima sees that her garden has been restored, and a mural has been painted on the wall by Miles, depicting what appears to be life in her old country. On the opposite wall is written, "I leave you with the best of myself." We also see Miles on a bus talking to a girl from his school, as she sees a superhero drawing he is making, inspired by McCall. We see Sam get reunited with his long-lost sister, Magda, after McCall pulled a few strings. In the final scene, McCall is standing outside his old house, looking out into the vast ocean. That was the recap of the movie. Hope you enjoyed it. Now comment on what your favorite part was, and make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel to help us out. Until next time, this has been Total Recapped.